Hi, listeners. This is your second favorite Scorpio reporting in. As some of you might have heard, this past weekend there was a tragic hate crime mass shooting that took place in Buffalo, New York. And as some of you might remember, I live in Buffalo, New York. So I just wanted to use the first 30 seconds of this episode to promote some places that you could donate in the spirit of the City of Good Neighbors. The Tops on Jefferson is the only full-service supermarket on the east side of Buffalo. So in order to help feed the community, a good place to donate would be the Buffalo Community Fridge or Feed More WNY. There's also a GoFundMe verified list of fundraisers that helps relieve some of the financial burden of losing a loved one on the families of people affected. I will put all of the relevant links in the description, and if you follow me on Twitter, I do have a running thread of resources that I add to as I see things come up. But otherwise, just when things like this happen, you gotta let yourself be angry. I think for too long, a lot of people have focused on positivity, but I think it's okay to be completely and consumingly pissed off. So, I'm sorry if you were expecting a message of radiant positivity, but we do have to occasionally say, fuck Nazis. But yeah, now that I've thoroughly been a bummer, please enjoy this episode.
Welcome to Mortified, Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Channing Tatum's wig.
And this week, we talk bodice rippers and romcoms with The Lost City. Before we examine Mr. Tatum's plucky warrior, remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
Do you ever long for adventure?
Beep, beep, beep.
What?
Avatar watch. Beep,
Oh, shit.
Beep, beep. Avatar watch. Hi, everybody. Welcome to your favorite segment and mine, Avatar watch, which is something we started, 2 weeks ago? But now we're going to keep going because, unfortunately, the latest and greatest Tumblr post that threatened Avatar being delayed to 2015 is now dead because Avatar 2 Way of the Water has a trailer. Aaron, comment?
Oh, Leyla, I have far too many comments for this particular bit of media. But I mean, where to start? Let's see. Our classic heroes, Jake and Neytiri, have a family. That's probably the biggest update. I mean, the world of Pandora looks, as CGI as ever. It's beautiful. There's a lot of water. I can't wait to see all the water monsters. Leyla, when I watched this trailer, a couple things stood out to me. First was, of course, Jake Sully's dreadlocks, which immediately ruined all good faith that I had in that program, within the first 10 seconds of watching the trailer. But when he starts to talk about his family, there is one particular character who is not necessarily a Na'vi. He looks like a human. He's wearing one of those breather masks. He's white-ish. I think he's got cat stripes. And I sent this to you, and I said, Leyla, do Jake and Neytiri have a biracial son?
And here's where you and I got into one of our very rare disagreements in our friendship. Because Jake Sully no longer has his human body. Therefore, who is the boy?
So I think that's an interesting question. Where I will diverge with Leyla is that, so Jake Sully is not in a full Na'vi body. He is in a hybrid avatar body, which is created by the DNA of his dead brother and and a Na'vi. So technically, he's driving his brother's body. So technically, Jake Sully is a bit of a biracial person himself. My theory is that they do have a biracial son that just one of them came out half human, and they're gonna have a really, really heinous character arc about it.
Right. And there is a wonderful thing you pointed out to me vis-a-vis Jake Sully inhabiting his brother's body, which is that his son is technically his nephew.
Yeah, I mean, that's not his own DNA he's blasting out down there. All of Jake Sully's kids, because of the nature of the Avatar body, are actually his brother's kids, which is very funny.
And I will tell you the thing I told my dear good friend Marty, which is, if that is Jake Sully and Neytiri's son, then congratulations to Neytiri, because that little guy must have slid right out of that nipple seat.
Just like a bungee cord. Just boing!
She must have not even known she was pregnant, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, God. Leyla, I mean, do you have any, like, emotional reactions beyond the fact that they're gonna do some more bad shit in Avatar?
I'm excited to see you in person to watch this. That's my emotional response.
Yes, no, we're going to have a wild time in December somewhere in the great state of Indiana, and we are going to watch what is certain to be both a blockbuster film and, you know, a war crime against storytelling. So, cannot wait for that.
Yeah, it's going to be... this movie has been 13 years in the making, and... The storytelling of Avatar was a little out of date by 2009 standards, so the question we posed during that episode, and the question we will certainly pose in December is, what? That's it. That'll be the question we ask, I think.
Stay tuned for more great Avatar criticism in the weeks to come.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, and for the sake of me as a games professional, this is not incriminating the Avatar video game, which I'm sure is great.
We have no criticisms of Ubisoft whatsoever. Wink.
None at all.
Anyway.
None at all. That was a great segment. Aaron, what was the question you were about to ask me before we did our very important new segment, Avatar Watch?
Leyla, do you ever long for adventure with a lovable himbo?
I hate that you asked me this. Why would you set me up like this? Absolutely. I'm constantly talking to you about this.
I thought you might, which is why I think that you proposed we watch the 2022 action comedy romance, The Lost City, starring Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, and Daniel Radcliffe.
Well, I saw this action rom-com while on a lovable adventure with a lovable himbo of my own in Austin, Texas. Shout out Ange. We had some time to kill. Friend of the pod, friend genuinely. We had some time to kill in Austin, Texas, and we said, let's go to the movies. And we saw this flick, and I've been talking about it ever since, because it is genuinely some of the most fun I've ever had in the movie theater.
Do you want to go ahead and explain the not super complicated, but certainly fun plot of The Lost City? And also, if it's not clear, we're naming this episode, this one's about a movie, because last time we did The Forgotten City, so that's Leyla had a very good joke, so you all know and
Thanks
appreciate it.
Thanks for spelling out my joke.
Tweet at Leyla and tell her how good her joke is.
Yeah, please do. Oh, please do. Yeah, that'll do wonders to my ego. So, The Lost City is about Loretta Sage, played by Sandy Bullock. And Loretta Sage is an archaeologist whose archaeologist husband, John, has unfortunately passed away. So instead of finishing her research, which she could not get published anywhere, she turned to her other passion, writing. And as we know, the things that sell are Harlequin novels. So she writes archaeology-based Harlequin novels. In Loretta Sage's latest work, The Lost City boasts the same cover model and the same male lead it always does. Dash, or Alan, as played by Channing Tatum. And the way you can tell when he's Dash or when he's Alan is by his beautiful Fabio-ass wig. It's a great prop, and I love it very much. But anyway, Loretta writes a book called The Lost City and goes on this press tour with Alan to promote it. Unfortunately, she also gets kidnapped by Abigail Fairfax, who is think of him as like a one of the Fox sons. You know, we're talking Succession, we're talking media mogul, played by none other than Short King Daniel Radcliffe. And Daniel Radcliffe says, "Hey, I know this is your research. I think this book will actually lead me to the lost city and its treasure." And Sandy Bullock says, "Haha, no." And so Daniel Radcliffe does kidnap her and take her to this island and makes her translate things. In the meantime, Alan realizes that Sandy is kidnapped and he is in love with her, so he wants to apologize for being obnoxious, and he recruits Beth, who is the publisher, and Jack Trainer, who he has on his phone as Jack parentheses Trainer, who is Brad Pitt, to help rescue Sandy. He gets separated from Beth, and Jack quickly dies, leaving Alan and Loretta stranded on this island and needing to escape Abigail's clutches. Hijinks ensue, and at the end they realize that the real treasure was love all along. It is a wild romp and a fantastic time. Aaron, did that do it?
Yeah, no, I think you summed it up perfectly. You get our two people who don't like each other super much at the beginning. They have some sort of weird caper in the middle, and by the end they're in love, and it's great. And I had a great time watching it, and I'm glad that you suggested it for this podcast because, it's very different than what we normally do. We honestly do a lot less like live action, especially like mainstream live action. And this one...
The funny thing is that you suggested it.
Oh, I did, yeah, because I just heard somebody talk about how fun it was, and I was like, this seems like something that Leyla might like, and it turned out you did like it because you had seen it previously. But yeah, no, I think it's kind of perfect for us, because we like to shake things up here on Mortified.
We certainly do. So let's talk about our characters. Aaron, you had some beef with Loretta.
I think Loretta, starts out as a little bit unlikable, which is kind of in the mold of like, rom-com protagonists, especially when I'm thinking like Hallmark, right? I'm thinking, businesswoman who, just is wedded to her work and doesn't have time for a man, doesn't realize that she, needs to get out of the house. Like her whole, her main flaw is that she is, grieving her husband who passed 5 years ago. And like, that's the reason that she can't, really write her books super well anymore. And, doesn't want to leave. We get a sequence at the beginning when she's writing this latest novel, and she's just like, it opens with like a scene from the novel, and then she's just like going through and deleting all the scenes, and then she's just like, you know what, this doesn't feel right, but I just gotta fucking submit a book, and big mood. And like, yeah, she comes off as like really kind of mean-spirited, especially in her relationship with Dash. During the press tour, she like pulls his wig off and says some mean stuff to him, and they get in a big fight, and like, that's kind of that's kind of part of the setup, but like it seemed like she was just kind of mean, and I was like, oh, that's not very nice to poor Channing Tatum, who is genuinely just like a big idiot who is trying to do the right thing. But like, that's kind of the point, right? You start them off with kind of rough around the edges. As you progress into the plot, especially into parts of Act 2, you start to like, have them, rub off in each other and get to see more of their interiority. And then by the end, they're lovable and sweet and great. We'll talk about the actual bad stuff that is part of Loretta's character, because she is a bit of a Lara Croft. But we will talk about that in our talking point segment. Leyla, would you please do me the honor of talking about one Mr. Channing Tatum, or Alan?
So here's the thing, friends. I never really found Channing Tatum all that attractive until this movie.
Oh no.
Because I think Channing Tatum has been unfortunately typecast as like boring jock. Nobody ever let him be a fun jock. With the exception of, I want to say, what is that movie with Amanda Bynes with the soccer? Is it She's All That?
Was he in She's All That?
Soccer movie. She's the Man is the one I'm thinking of. So she's the Man starring Channing Tatum, and that one was fun because they made him stuff a tampon up his nose. Because that's how Amanda Bynes, dressed as a boy, said that she cured her nosebleeds, is by stuffing a tampon up her nose.
Fair enough.
In this movie, Channing Tatum gets to be just the most charming doofus I've ever seen in my life. That Dash wig is so fucking funny because when he puts it on, he's a different person. Aaron, have you seen... did I ever send you the clip that they put together about becoming Dash?
I feel like you tweeted it, and I saw it, and like he had a very good time. It seemed like Mr. Tatum was really living for that character in a very fun way.
Into camera.
Oh, we're gonna watch it.
Ladies and
gentlemen, get in here.
Okay, I'm in.
Cover model, Dash McMahon. I think Dash is out of his mind. To be Dash,
I think Dash is out of his mind.
Seeing Channing in his Dash outfit, he came out of the dressing room. The hair exited first, and then the acid wash jeans, then the open shirt.
I think there's a limit to how many buttons can be buttoned, which is basically one.
Brilliant actor. Some of the stuff he does as Dash in this movie, there's a moment where he blows out a candle and then continues to use it to search for light.
I was pretty nervous about the whole wig situation. I wasn't ready for what it was going to do to me, like, spiritually. Just sort of like suction cups to my head, and then all of a sudden, Dash is there.
The hair flings and the... You know, it just... He should never have a mane like that because it just takes over his personality.
I sort of blacked out. The wig is actually in control. It manipulates you, and you're just a pawn in its game.
The wig manipulates you, and you're just a pawn in its game. That's very good.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of that little clip is the one where they talk about him blowing out the kin because he made to use it.
No.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I was going to say, that's a great summation of what Alan's character is. He's just like a complete idiot, but very sexy, and, genuinely tries to do the right thing even when he's, kind of bumbling about it.
Yeah, exactly. I love this for Channing Tatum very, very much. Did you enjoy watching our good boy?
Yeah, no, Harry Potter did a great job. I am so glad that they got Daniel Radcliffe for this role because, I think we, I don't want to say we are in, the Far Cry-ification of villains, but, I feel like that kind of villain, ever since the fucking Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, everybody has been trying to do that Joker in their villains in a weird way, and I think that's an effective villain, but certainly not for a movie like this. And Daniel Radcliffe gets at the heart of that, which is a billionaire egomaniacal who is wants to cement their legacy. He has that weird intensity that you want to get from a character like that, but also he's just so goofy. He's just oh, when they bring Sandra Bullock in, he's like, oh man, was this creepy? I didn't want it to be creepy, I'm sorry. And he has this energy that he brings to this role. There's a part where Sandra Bullock sets the car on fire that they're in. He's like, no, you didn't have to. He's just very frustrated, and he's not murderous, but he's very grouchy and angry. There's only one time when he actually does at the very end when he's like, no, get in the coffin, you're gonna be buried alive. It's okay, now he's evil. But before that, I think he's a very fun villain who is just the right amount of weirdly intense about their pet project, but also silly. It's very fun to see, our short king Daniel Radcliffe walking around with all these big muscular henchmen because they're standing a head and a half above him, and he's just ordering around Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock, who are also big tall people. It's just nice. I want to see more short villain representation in our media.
Sandra Bullock, who we have failed to mention, did an entire action rom-com in a pink sequin jumpsuit.
Yeah, she has the one stupid outfit the whole time. It's very good.
Which I think it deserves an Oscar. Our next character is Beth. She's the publicist. She's one of those things. Beth Okay, here's where I got a little bit annoyed with what the narrative did with Beth, not necessarily Beth herself.
Yes, correct.
She got this, like, weird relationship with this weird pilot, who was, like, clearly in love with her, but he was also very, very weird, and so she was just, like, constantly being like, we are friends, we are friendly, we are friends. You talk to a goat, we are friends.
Yeah.
Which... just, like... she is so cool, and she is a fat black lady. Like, I am begging y'all, just give her a straightforward romance. Like, there is no reason she couldn't have gotten with Brad Pitt.
No, 100%. Played by Divine Joy Randolph. She does a phenomenal job. But, like, this starts to get into some of, like, the weird stuff that this movie does that it absolutely deserves to be slammed for, which is just, like, the only, black person in this film who it's fine to give somebody a B plot, but then also make them be like the object of like this quote creepy foreigner unquote a guy who is like kind of like hitting on her and being like weird, like that kind of sucks. I do wish that they did better by Beth. Her whole reason for being in the film is to like act as Loretta's introduction, set her up like as a successful author, and then come in at the end with the boat to save her. But like they only have to include that because it serves as a vehicle to get her off the island, and it's a shame. I think they wasted Miss Randolph's skills, and I hope we see her in future films.
Yeah, because she was a joy to watch on screen. She was
great.
So incredibly very funny. Brad Pitt kind of ruled in this movie.
I think Brad Pitt is the best when he is not taking himself seriously. I don't know if you've ever seen Ocean's 11, but like when he's just yeah.
Oh, I love Ocean's 11, and then oddly enough, Ocean's 8, Sandy Bullock.
There we go. Yeah, it all comes full circle. But like I think he was in like Troy, I believe, and he was like a fine Achilles. But like he is at his best when he's like kind of a goofy dude who is just like knows that he is quote, Brad Pitt the actor, and is like kind of playing into that. Like he's like playing this ex-military guy who like does all this cool action movie shit, and Channing Tatum is just kind of like following him, and he's just like, come on, man, you gotta be cool. He's great. He's great for the parts he's in, and then he is swiftly shot in the head, and his character serves his purpose. And like, I think that's great. I think sometimes when your character arc is complete, you should just get your head blown off.
But then it's revealed in the post-credits scene that you only use 10% of your brain, and therefore...
That's an incredible line. Yeah, no, he actually survived getting his head blown off. It's really good. Hysterical.
It was hysterical. He did rule incredibly, and I agree with you. I think he thrives, just like Channing Tatum, just like Sandy Bullock, because we've seen Sandy Bullock take herself seriously the blind side, and it's not great.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So, so those are our characters. Shout out to everyone in this movie. Everyone had so much fucking fun.
Yeah.
Aaron, you have a history with rom-coms.
So here's the thing. I actually like rom-coms, like, kind of bit. Like, I think that watching one of my earliest memories, maybe not earliest, but like I was in Singapore for like 2 months because my mom was staying with her family for a long time. And over those 2 months, I remember my mom and my auntie and I all sitting on this couch at like 11, like up till midnight, watching the Jack Nicholson rom-com, Something's Gotta Give. And all I remember about that is that there's a scene where Jack Nicholson has to climb stairs in order to prove that he can have sex. But like, I remember watching these rom-coms, these chick flicks, and like kind of having fun with them. Like, I watched both Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve. Those like big, like all-star ensemble casts where everybody like knows each other's. And like, I like had a great time. I kind of like those movies. Just because like, there is something that is fun about going into a movie with the expectation that like what's going to happen at the end. The two leads are going to get together and they're going to be happy. But like the journey is the fun part, not necessarily like finding out the destination. and like all the weird and fun ways that people interact. Like, it's kind of why they bring up the fact that romance is the, you know, best-selling novel category in this book. And like that, I know nothing about romance, you know, and I think that romance writers are incredible. But like, I think that might be why romance is so interesting, because like there is a level of security, right? If you go into a romance kind of expecting that your two main characters get together, right? There is a level of being like, I know where this ends up. I know it's going to be okay. So I can kind of weather the emotional turmoil a little bit better. And also I get to see like these fun interactions in between characters. They get to do fun, goofy, or dramatic stuff together. And that's really cool. And like, that's why I think like romance stuff, like, I really like that. I wish that frankly, I don't watch very many movies except for, my podcasts, but like, I do kind of wish there were more fucking films like Valentine's Day or New Year's Eve, because like, I just have fun with those. I like that shit. And, I think there's a lot we can learn about storytelling through watching, fun movies like that.
I wish I knew you liked rom-coms, because I would suggest more of them. I'm quite used to people being, how do I put this, very biased against the art of a good rom-com. I'm not a huge fan of those like big Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve ones, but I do love just two beautiful people doing stupid, beautiful things in contrived ways and then kissing at the end. Like, that's fun for me. So, like, I'm familiar with the Matthew McConaughey Fool's Gold. That was a lot of fun when I watched it. Ella Enchanted, I would consider a rom-com.
Yes. Yeah.
I love Anne Hathaway. Love that movie.
Shout out Stan.
Truly shouts. The best rom-coms are so charming and have so much chemistry that they make you forget about the plot a little bit. I would also argue Legally Blonde is a rom-com. Big fan of Legally Blonde in this house.
Would you say that our beloved Princess Switch franchise is a rom-com series?
Absolutely, 100,000%. Every girl, every Vanessa Ann Hudgens gets a man.
As is decreed.
Which, by the way, Netflix, call us. We have some spin-off suggestions that we think would be absolute fucking hits. Long live the Princess Switch cinematic universe. I think where rom-coms get into like shit territory for me is like, I was so excited for Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson in Marry Me. My mom and I like bonded over J-Lo rom-coms back when she was at her height in like the late early 2000s. Monster-in-Law, Bitches Love, fucking literally anything. Made in Manhattan, as like problematic as that movie was, my mom and I love Made in Manhattan. J-Lo really has like a way with rom-coms where she's just seamless in the same kind of quote-unquote good girl role. And she always has some like handsome white dude and some sort of external circumstances keeping them apart. It's formulaic and beautiful. It's a great time. Marry Me was such a nothing of a movie to me. If the writing felt outdated, it felt like it was trying to give like a early 2000s like quote unquote feminist message of like women should be more than their marriage. And it's like, yes, but I came here to watch you marry math teacher Owen Wilson because he was holding up a sign, and then the two of you learning how to like live between a math teacher and a pop star's lifestyle. Like, that's what I was looking for. And you gave me none of that, despite how charming some of the Owen Wilson scenes were. But I love rom-coms. I think they're delightful. I'm a big fan of romance myself. And this really scratched an itch for me that Marry Me just simply did not. And thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Channing.
Y'all did great.
Except for.
So, whenever we get a white person doing archaeology, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up because I know something's wrong. I know some theft, some colonialism is bound to happen. And it does. Now they don't, they do specify, like they say the name of a native, tribe, that like this, they're doing this archaeological dig on. And they even like they say that the name of the, like tribe in the book. Like the name of the book was going to be like the lost city of these people. I'm trying to look up and see if it's in the Wikipedia, but like they say that it was like so long that white audiences like wouldn't be able to pronounce it, so they just shortened it to the lost city of D or something. And like it's like they're like acknowledging that what they're doing is like a weird bit of like anthropological racism. That might not be the right phrase, but like, you know, doing archaeology and also being racist about it. And like there's a part where like, you know, Daniel Radcliffe gives Loretta like this thing to translate, and he's like, listen, this scrap of, you know, this, you know, ancient language, you know, no one else was able to translate it before. And she's like, yeah, well, no one else tried. It's like, well, that's just patently untrue, right? Like, if you can't be the only person studying this one thing, like, I guarantee you that there are people living on that island. In fact, later on, when it comes on, like, there's, you know, native people who are singing in Spanish, and they're telling the legends of the island. It's like, you know, people live there, and even in the fiction of the world, and, like, you know, she makes herself into this, you know, like Indiana Jones figure who's just like, I gotta you know, unlock the secrets that no one else was able to figure out. And then at the very end, they do the worst thing ever, which is like they find the, you know, this place where the quote unquote hidden treasure is. You know, they get locked inside the tomb of these native people, these native rulers. And then once they are able to escape, you know, Sandra Bullock drops her wedding ring into the tomb, and says this phrase like, you know, sweeter after hardship in Latin. That was her special phrase with her husband. And then they, you know, close the tomb up or whatever. It's like, well, I think you've missed the mark, Miss Bullock. I don't think that if you respected the people who lived here, you would do that.
Yeah. And like there was also a part where one of Daniel Radcliffe's guards is from this region, and like Daniel Radcliffe shuts him down pretty hard. And it's like, I get what it was trying to do, but it was this very like, it was more about, it sometimes felt like it was just white people telling a story and like trying to be quote unquote woke, but just not having enough maybe sensitivity readers or friends of color or, you know, people of color in the writing room. I really don't know what the makeup of that writing room was, so
it's all white people. I looked them up.
Oh, okay, it's all white people. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's just like you could have hired some native writers, and this would have been a perfect flick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame.
It's a shame, but outside of that, delightful fun.
Yeah, no, it's very fun for what it is. You know, I think it absolutely hits at what it's going for. And that's, you know, if you're achieving what you set out to achieve, it's hard to, you know, criticize you for that, unless what you're setting out to achieve is heinous. And for the most part, it's not. But yeah, no, it was great. I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope that we cover more romance stuff in the future, because I think that'll be useful for me as a writer. I mean, I was, even in my notes, I was like, maybe I should just start trying to write romance, even though I'm fucking bad at it. Like, it seems like maybe it's easy based on... Actually, no, that's not true. I don't want to say that at all. The lines that they have Sandy Bullock write are probably not actually what real romance writers are like. And I
was going to say they are not at all, and be very careful,
yeah,
because
I know.
a very good professional romance writer listens to this podcast.
Yeah, no, sorry. I know that... No, I am well aware of the place that romance holds in literature, and... you know, I want a part of your pie is the actual answer. Y'all are making bank, and I would also like to make bank. But, yeah, no, I was thinking, you know, if I was somebody who was going to write a rom-com similar to The Lost City, you know, kind of like an action adventure, I think that I would like to do Bridgerton, but with reverse white saviorism.
Okay. What do you mean?
So, right, Bridgerton is criticized, rightly so, for being, like, you know, out of time, right? Like, they've got, you know, black actors, they've got Indian actors, you know, living in the English aristocracy and being able to move within those circles without fear of racism. And you know what? That's great. I'm happy that we can tell those stories, but, you know, we cannot, you know, we can't just like ignore the fact that that's, you know, that is a fantasy, right? Because in the actual historical context, that would not have been possible. But if we are going to play out that fantasy, why not have some fun with it? And, you know, instead of, you know, a white, you know, army officer coming to India and, you know, learning their customs and, you know, becoming the sultan, you know, and adopting their customs and being the best one of them, why don't we have a Desi woman go over to England and teach them and learn how to become the best white person, so good at making Yorkshire puddings and playing polo that she becomes the Queen of England. I love to take weird, bad tropes and turn them on their heads just to see how fucking weird it would be. And I think it would be very funny to make a brown person take over the throne of England. I think that would be hysterical. And I want a rom-com that does that. I want Meghan Markle to be the Queen of England.
Yeah. I mean...
Right? It is Meghan Markle, right?
Yeah, Meghan Markle. That would be fun. That would be a delightful time. Whenever you describe this concept, all I can think about is that awful direct-to-VHS Pocahontas sequel. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know you've mentioned it. Listen, I don't want that. I don't want, No,
I'm not saying that's what you're pitching. I'm just saying that, like, that would be the good version of that incredibly racist, very odd movie.
Yeah. Do you have a weird ideal rom-com?
I mean, what is my ideal rom-com? I mean, like, see, that's hard for me because I'm so easily swayed by romance. I think my ideal rom-com is just Howl's Moving Castle. It is just a smart woman trapped in an unusual circumstance with an idiot, hot coward, and having to get out of that. So, our wonderful, not only the Miyazaki version, but I also like the book version of Howl's Moving Castle because, like, Howl is a Welsh asshole in that one. He's just like a dude that figured out how to cross over into the magic realm and like plays guitar. He's so stupid. So like if anybody wants to pick up the mantle that Diana Wynne-Jones so lovingly laid at our feet and give me more magic idiots being stupid dipshits with smart women, that's it. That's my ideal rom-com. I feel like as a connoisseur of the genre, I have like a much more broad enjoyment of the medium, and I can't possibly weave an ideal situation because I just I love. I think it's fun to watch.
Listen, when we become Disney executives, we will crank out some extremely good shows. Just you wait, listeners. It'll be a good time. But when we are not writing the perfect rom-com, where can we be found on the internet?
You can find me at LEYLSES on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. Tragically today, there was a shooting in my hometown. It was an act of fucking awful racism that resulted in, at least at this point, 10 people being dead. So if you want to help the victims of of that awful crime, you can keep watching my Twitter feed. I will be posting links as soon as I come across them. Aaron, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at AaronSXL, where I tweet about tabletop RPGs, writing, and health policy. You can find me on YouTube, where I do tabletop reviews at AA Voigt. You can listen to the other shows I do. One is at The Bible Boys, where we talk about Christian media. And we will hopefully be talking about the HBO Way Down next week, which will be a good time. Or a bad time, probably a bad time for me.
Yeah, statistically, those are a bad time for you.
Yes. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find them on keshko.bandcamp.com. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's it. We've done it, Leyla. We're just gonna, leave this great lost city and return to a world with, idiots and sexism in it.
Aaron, don't fucking mansplain sexism to me.
Well, Leyla, I'm a feminist, and I think women can do anything a man can do.
You have to say we'll see you all
Oh,
next
we'll
week.
see you all next week. Jesus, what a nightmare.
I'm keeping that in the edit.